Pullman, Moscow, and beyond with Jordan Vorderbruggen, a podcast where we get to know interesting people here on the Palouse.
Welcome to the Pullman, Moscow, and Beyond podcast. My hope is to spotlight some of the most interesting people here on the Palouse, as well as some folks I've gotten to know from beyond our area. In this episode, we sit down with Megan Viney, the recreation manager for the city of Pullman, to talk about her journey from WSU alumni to long-term local resident and all things Pullman recreation. What brought you to Pullman?
I came to Pullman 30-some years ago, 1994, to attend WSU. I followed in my brother's footsteps to be the farthest away from my parents that I could be and still stay in the state of Washington.
Okay.
So came to Pullman to attend WSU and essentially never left.
Okay. So where did you grow up then?
I grew up in a small town in Western Washington, actually Southwest Washington, Cathlamet, Washington. It's right on the Columbia River. It's between Longview and, say, Long Beach on the Washington side.
Okay. So it's on the Columbia River or like closer to the coast or?
Yep. Literally like an hour north of Portland and an hour from the ocean, from Long Beach. Yep.
Oh, nice. And so did you have a connection? Did your family have a connection to Washington State or anything like that? Or what made you want to come to school?
The only connection was that my brother went here. There was a few people that I went to school with that my senior class that were interested in going here. UW was definitely out of the question in my world. I thought about Eastern. I actually got a scholarship to run track at Pacific Lutheran in Tacoma and ended up deciding that I didn't want to have that as my job and I wanted to be just a true college student. WSU it was.
And you decided to stay?
Yes, I met my current husband while I was a student here. We met in the summer and when I was home for one of my summer jobs working for Longview Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
And then we ended up getting married my senior year between semesters. And then we decided to stay after I graduated. I finished my internship actually with the City of Pullman Parks and Recreation. And he was substitute teaching and coaching with Pullman schools. And so we just kept staying.
Yeah. And is he from the area or?
He's actually from the west side also. He's from a small town of Toutle, Washington.
Okay. So you both decided, you're both from small towns, more rural, but you decided this was the place to be.
Yeah, we fell in love with Pullman. I feel so many other people say big city amenities in a small town atmosphere. I loved working for the city at the time when I was working in college and a brief stint outside of college. I still worked for Parks and Recreation and we just fell in love. Clark was working for Pullman schools and coaching and felt like every school year it was like, oh, are we going to move when our apartment lease was up in July, August? And then we'd be like, no, let's sign on for another year and another year and another year. And we're still here.
Yeah. And did both your kids go to school here?
Yes, both my kids actually went to school in Colton. So after about 5 years of owning a house in Pullman, we moved to Colton. So both our kids graduated from Colton schools.
Okay. And then did they go to college here also?
They did. That was not on their original bingo card, was to go here. My son initially wanted to go to the University of Hawaii at Hilo to explore the world of biology and wildlife stuff. And then our daughter actually wanted to go to ASU so bad. We toured there and she was like, whoa, this is really big. So they both decided WSU was their place. And both of them are so glad that was the decision they made. They had the most amazing time there, found their niche, their people.
Absolutely. Are they still local then?
Neither of them are. Our son lives in Western Washington, actually in Longview, Washington. He works for the state for Department of Natural Resources. He is a forester there. And our daughter is in Flagstaff, Arizona, attending Northern Arizona University. I'm going to graduate school in organizational leadership and working for NAU athletics.
Very cool. So she did make it to Arizona.
She did make it to Arizona.
Different part of Arizona.
Yes, absolutely.
Different vibe for sure.
Yep.
And then your husband is an award-winning coach, right? He holds a record for the most consecutive state titles, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so talk a little bit about how that went.
Yeah, he started out in Colton coaching boys basketball and was assistant football and was baseball. And then after a couple of years, I can't even remember how many years of coaching boys, the girls' job came open and he switched to that. And when he did switch, all of the girls that he coached in high school were all in youth basketball. Saturday morning youth basketball program is really big in Whitman County, small towns, starting at the age of second grade. And so he really loved that. It was small, the ability to work with all the parents who are coaching and start working with the boys and girls at a really young age. Started with girls, and his first season, they made it to playoffs to district, and they hadn't made it in a few years. And that really just steamrolled the system and got everybody bought in to winning. The next year, they placed third at state. The next year, they placed second, losing to Garfield Palouse in state title. Then the next year, they won it all and won 10 consecutive titles.
That's crazy. Not to take away from his coaching ability, but do you think it was just like a lucky group of girls in a way, that you had some really athletically forward girls in a row, or what caused that streak?
I think it's a perfect combination. They started winning. They had parents that bought into helping coach. They started running the same offenses and defenses and philosophies and schemes in third grade. So by the time they were in junior high and high school, they're running the same offense. They're familiar with that. Then, as it is, when one team achieves success, it builds to the next year, and the next group says, I don't want to lose. I don't want to let this team down. And not only 15 plus years of coaching girls basketball, but those same athletes then also were successful in volleyball, successful in softball. I think they won 6 state titles in softball over those same periods of time. So some of those girls that went through high school won 4 state basketball titles. They won 4 straight softball titles, and they were in state volleyball as well.
That's amazing. Just like a small town powerhouse. So you guys are an athletic family. Your daughter's, it sounds like she's still interested in recreation or athletic type things. For you and Clark, was that something when you first met, you both had strong interests, so it's just developed that way, or?
It's funny that you say that because you don't know the origin story. We actually met in a gym during the summer. We were gym supervisors for Parks and Recreation and did late night gym activities for high school, college students. So the fact that we met in a gym, he was athlete in his day. I played volleyball, basketball, and ran track as well. And so, it's in our blood and kids. And if our children didn't want to be in sports, that would have been fine too. But even our kids growing up, they saw their dad coaching football, basketball, baseball, and being involved in summer. So that was just their life as well.
Yeah, for sure. And there's probably a little bit of genetics in it, right?
And that's funny.
If you guys had been drawn to that, like they're probably drawn to that, the way your mind works or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Sports is in everything that we do. Our text threads every day have something to do with some kind of athletic event that we're all watching on TV. And Saturdays watching college football, or Sundays in the NFL, or it's just going crazy.
It is. Yeah, cool. So growing up, being very involved in sports and athletic type activities, is that kind of what drew you towards the rec career?
Absolutely. Actually, I came to college wanting to be a PE teacher.
Okay.
And through a few different things that changed education-wise at WSU and how they shifted PE teachers, and now it's with education and kinesiology, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do and met with the advisor and said, if you're interested in that, why don't you next semester take a sport management class and check out a recreation class? I took both of them the next semester. The sport management was at that time, to me, a little more business focused.
Right.
And recreation was like, oh my gosh, I can still do all the things I want to do and be involved. I could still be active. All I could see myself, funny that I say this 30 years later, when I chose a sport management class, is that I was going to be sitting at a desk all day, not involved in participants. And I just knew that's not what I wanted to do. So I went the recreation route and still obviously do business stuff with that. But that's the whole point of why I went into recreation. I'm involved with athletics, involved with participants, and being able to see them every day.
So you've pretty much been involved with the city of Pullman since graduating college then?
Yeah, with a short stint of a little over 1 year, I worked for, formerly, was the YMCA at WSU. I was the after-school program director and the summer day camp director in 99, 2000-ish period. And I really did need that job. That was the opportunity that I needed to gain more supervisory experience, management, and then budget and program operations. And so then in 2000, my current position, but a recreation supervisor position came open, and I applied for that and got it. So yeah, in 2000, I started back with the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my dad was involved at that time, right? I mean, he had left in 2000,
Yep.
right?
So he and another former employee, Leanne, both
Mhm.
decided to leave about the same time, and so created the recreation supervisor position and the recreation superintendent.
Okay.
So that was pretty big for the department at that time, of losing two
Yeah.
monumental staff that had been there for a while with a lot of knowledge that went out the door with two newbies coming in. But yes, your dad was my boss when I was in college and was definitely huge in being able to rejoin the city.
I feel like I've known you for a long time, but just from afar, because anytime I'm with my dad and we run into you and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But now I'm on the park board, so we get to see each other a little more often.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I love that you're on that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's really interesting to see. I'm out and about all the time with people showing houses and people coming into the community asking questions about things. But it's been really good for me to be a part of that, just to see how much Parks and Recreation offers for our city. I think it's one of the best portions of what our city does. What does day-to-day look like for you?
Day-to-day is different now in my recreation manager position. I switched to that 4 years ago. It will be in January. Prior to that, as a recreation supervisor, it was totally different, youth sports and youth programs. Now, as recreation manager, I oversee the three arms of recreation specifically. So that's senior programs, recreation, and aquatics. So that allows me to oversee 8 full-time staff.
Okay.
So I'm not just focused in one area, but 8 staff that are responsible for their own program areas. So daily, a lot of it is checking in with them, making sure everything's going well. I also am essentially the facility manager of the Pullman Recreation Center. So that brings a whole host of other things. So coordinating facility availability, rentals, but also the maintenance of that. So if there are things wrong, I'm in communication with buildings teams and park staff and things like that. So every day is a lot of emails and a lot of people, but I also am still responsible for a whole host of my own recreation programs. So that's a lot of checking in on those instructors and rosters and registration and things like that.
Because how many total programs are offered?
I'll throw out a couple of different numbers. We just completed our PROS, Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan. And when we went through that and did a program analysis, we had in our system, over a course of a year-ish or time, 800 activities are listed in our system.
Wow.
That is broken down into 10 core program areas: active adult and senior citizens, adult athletics. We have youth programming, youth athletics, special events, our preschool program, enrichment and general recreation. We have wellness and or fitness classes. I'm sure I'm missing something in there, but all those programs are grouped into those 10 core areas.
So the PROS plan was, we had an outside group come in, analyze everything, see where strengths and weaknesses are, try to create goals. If you were to think about the biggest takeaways from that, because how long were they here? A year or something?
Basically, we kicked it off like the week before Lennel Fest in 2024.
Yeah.
And just wrapped up this summer.
Yeah. So they were involved for a year, really looking into programs, everything Parks and Recreation's doing, also doing a legitimate survey of the public to try to get feedback. So I know it's a big question to ask, what were the big key takeaways, but what were the things that really stood out in your mind?
I think there's two or three big things, and I'll group them out. On the recreation side, really heavy focus on program analysis. And that's something we really needed. We needed an outside group to look at us and assess all of our programs. What is the life cycle of the program? Is it on the rise and is it popular, or is it diminishing and it needs to go away? We also looked at funding and trends. Are we providing programs that are what people actually want? That obviously gives you a pretty simple answer. If it's not what you want, there's going to be 0 registrations,
Right.
which also helps with the life cycle. So a lot of that focus, which will really help us going forward, decide what programs need to move forward. Also with that, is it an essential service and it's something that we need to cover as like a subsidy, that our community needs it and it should be at a low cost? Are things value added? They add value to our community. Those are usually not subsidized and they're what people really want and choose. An immediate idea is like a senior overnight trip. It's not essential in their day, but it's something they want to do to add value. Or programs that are in the middle, which I say is like youth sports. They're value added and people want them, but they're also essential to
Right.
to our area and our community. It's what gets people involved. So that's the program side. I would say on the other side was really facility and maintenance. Recreation and parks work hand in hand together. We can't provide youth sports and activities outside if we don't have parks and facilities to be able to offer those. So it really gave us an idea of what needs maintenance, what do we need to do, and how are we going to get there for funding, and what are some things that have been happening, deferred maintenance, that we need to move forward on to make them valuable for our community.
It was an intense amount of information, I felt like. And I know you guys spent a ton of time. I'm sure it's a relief to probably just be done with that.
It is a relief to be done. And now really the hard work comes from that. It's
Yeah.
a lot of meetings and focus meetings with our staff of how we're going to move forward, how we're going to meet those goals, where do we want to go? And then also really identifying the funding to move forward. What does that look like and how can we turf our city playfields to reduce the wear and tear and maintenance? We're going to spend money up front
Yeah.
to turf them, but that will reduce staff time and maintenance in the future. Another item that was really indicated out of that was the city of Pullman in general needs more field space. That's not a surprise to anybody. We don't have a whole lot of flat land around here. And we also, it was identified that we don't have any fields that we own that are true rectangles. All of our sports are played on outfields of baseball fields and softball fields. And that's flag football and soccer and things like that. So we really want to be able to identify land where we can put rectangle fields. We can expand our programming. There's lacrosse groups in town that we really struggle being able to accommodate them. How can we make some fields that will accommodate all the users in the community?
There's obviously rectangle fields in the city, but nothing that the city owns or can just totally freely use and
Correct.
schedule. They have to work with WSU or work with the schools if they want to use that.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool, and that's probably going to happen every 5 years. Is that right?
Yep.
That they do that.
Yeah, we were doing it in-house every 5 years. The document they provided to us is actually good for 10 years, but we will still need to review it and do updates every 5 years, which will go with city's comprehensive plan as well and our goals and priorities.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a good investment, and it also gives you opportunity for grants.
Absolutely. We need to have a 5-year plan to be eligible for state grants. And so being able to do that shows the state that we are staying in tune with what our community needs or wants and be able to do that. And actually from that, we've already applied for a few recent grants.
That's awesome.
That will be good.
Yeah. It's nice to get the community feedback to see maybe there's some thinking of you have an idea of what the community wants, but it helps to support that. Were there any surprises on the survey that people wanted this and didn't want this or something like that?
Of course, pickleball is at the top of the list. There's a huge contingency of players and that's still continuing to grow. Parks and trail development is still a huge one within the community. So I think we will continue to identify how to improve our current pass system and add to that. Of course, on there is always maintenance of aquatics and being able to address those concerns. So we will continue to look at that. I was trying to think of what else was on there. It identified farmers market, which is crazy. That's not necessarily something the city does, but that's good information to be able to share with our community organizations. That is a need that was identified on the community survey.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about the Aquatic Center. So there's going to be a change soon. What's the change going to be?
Yes, Pullman School District is selling the Aquatic Center to Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. The city of Pullman will be ceasing operations of the Aquatic Center on December 31st, our last day open to the public will be on Sunday, December 28th. That is something totally new to us. My entire life with Pullman Parks Recreation has had an aquatic center under our operations. So we look forward to partnering and working with Schweitzer Engineering on the transition. We've been busy doing that since early March of 2025. And as that wraps up, we look forward to supporting them. We will continue to operate Rainy during the summer. So that arrangement will look a little bit different, but we'll be working with Schweitzer what that looks like in terms of programs and offerings to make sure that we're benefiting both.
There will still be programs offered like there have been, but the management, the maintenance, all of those types of things will be handled by SEL.
That is correct. They will take over all operations of and management, as you said, and maintenance and programming. They have yet to disclose what that specific programming is, but want to make sure the public knows that there will be all the same programs we've been offering, and those will continue. They'll continue to work with the school district on the swim teams, and they're also looking actually to expand hours and some programming within that.
And so they took on some of the city staff that had worked there before. So they have people with direct experience.
Yes, that was a wonderful opportunity. Schweitzer, from the very beginning, was interested in giving first opportunity to our current staff, not only our full-time staff, aquatic coordinator and assistant aquatic coordinator, but also instructors, lifeguards, swim instructors, wax instructors. Our 2 full-time staff have been hired by Schweitzer Engineering. They have been working since mid-November on what that looks like. They're also still working part-time for the city of Pullman, so they've been very busy doing that and continuing oversight of the facility and management of staff, which has been a blessing for me for that to happen.
It takes a huge burden off the city, right, for SEL to take this over. As much as it's probably a little bittersweet for you just because you've been involved with it for so long, the building was failing, right?
Definitely. Between the 2 entities, it's a lot. It's a costly building. It's costly to run an aquatic center, and it had been a strain for both entities to operate that for the last few years. That part of the business, yes, it does reduce that strain on the city budget. Likewise, it is bittersweet. It is sad that we will no longer be offering those specific programs to the public, but it will be a good transition.
I think SEL has proven to do the right thing, so I'm sure it'll work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that we've talked about at Park Board some of these programs that are offered. Some of them maybe people wouldn't know about or think that you guys would offer, and some have been more popular than you might have initially thought they would be. Talk about those a little bit.
We have a whole host of programs. Yeah, definitely. Our most popular ones, youth sports, adult athletics. Our preschool program has been under the leadership of Miss Jean for 30 plus years. She has a well-standing tradition and reputation in the community with that. A lot of other individual activities that we have that have come to light recently, like I think of some baking classes, and we just restarted Concur